Welcome, everybody. So I am Anthony, your internet older brother.
I'm Gabby, the silent middle child.
And my name is Daniel, the youngest, the most handsome, the most charismatic, the most humble, the fastest on the track.
The most humble.
You can definitely tell he was the youngest. Welcome. If this is your first time, this is our weekly
Sonny.
live where we take questions from members, talk about hot topics for the week, and generally just get to spend some time with everybody. We have a lot of new members tonight coming from one of our Instagram lives. So thank you to everybody who just joined. Thank you to all of our
so much,
members who
guys.
have been with us from the beginning and allowed us to get there. To get here in the first place, for those of you who haven't seen the announcements, I have officially been able to go part-time with content creation as a result of the support of everybody here on Patreon. So really, you guys are the ones that make everything like this possible.
Big
and
congrats, big hearts, big love to
thank you
everyone in
to
our core
everyone.
family.
Thank you so much, guys.
So the way this works, if you're new here, we've got questions from our members that have been asked throughout the week, or members that are here in chat. We're going to try something a slightly different format today, where rather than asking them all
Hi,
up
Eve.
front, we're going to try and weave them a little bit
Welcome.
into our conversation. So if you don't hear your question right away, we haven't skipped it. We're going to
get to it.
And then we also have a moderator here for the chat, so you are welcome to ask questions as we talk, and we have somebody keeping track of questions for us, and we'll get to all of those as well.
Yep, and Daniel's also monitoring the chat for questions about the topics we're talking about. We're going to be covering a lot this week, you guys. A lot has happened with the Epstein files. A lot has happened with ICE and the detention centers. A lot has happened with the State of the Union and the Democrats and their response and all of that. So we're going to get to everything. Let's go ahead and start with one question from one of our big sibs, Christine. She asked, can you talk about Cuba, both the humanitarian crisis with lack of food, energy, etc., and with their border agents just killing 4 Americans?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So Cuba has been in crisis for a little while now. I generally tend to avoid talking about subjects that are not directly related to the United States. But we certainly have a long history with Cuba, but there's already so much going on in the world. And in the U.S., it's hard for me to keep track of everything else. But Cuba's become particularly relevant in the last day or two. I'm not sure if you've even heard this yet. This is a fairly new story.
I was at work.
It was reported, I think, within the last 24 hours. That Cuba reported that they had attacked a American boat that came into their naval space. 4 people are dead and 6 are injured. We don't know if this was
Cuba attacked an American boat.
Yeah, an American boat was entered,
and 4 American
entered their naval
soldiers
space.
were killed.
We don't know if they were American soldiers or not. Like, there's no news on if this is a civilian boat, military boat, basically anything aside from the fact that 4 people are dead and 6 are injured. If it's military, you can certainly expect escalation. From Trump.
So we don't know if they're civilians or military.
No, there's no news as this come out. This is in light of an ongoing crisis in Cuba. Cuba, they have, they're basically completely out of money to buy food, oil, anything. I recently heard the Trump administration is offering to sell them oil we've stolen from Venezuela. But I don't know. That's extremely new news. I don't know how reliable that is. But it would be very on brand with Trump to basically steal a bunch of oil from Venezuela and then sell it to Cuba, which we have basically bankrupted through the embargo that we've had on them since basically the Cold War.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't put that past him, but it's hard to make a judgment without knowing if they were civilians or military or what the details are.
If it was any type of military ship, you can certainly expect that there will be a military response.
Our cat is sounding off in the background.
Should I bring her? I'll bring her to-
Sure,
bring her
go
in.
pick her up and bring her in.
If you guys ever hear our cat meowing, she thinks we're bad hunters and brings us socks to eat. Because
it's like she can sense when we're doing a live.
Yeah.
And she's like, now is the time.
Yeah.
She brought this. This was on the ground.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is Indy. If you haven't seen her before, she's our social kitty.
Yep. She just wants to be on the live with us.
But yeah, to go back to Cuba. So Cuba's been in a humanitarian crisis for a long time. Really, food, technology, all sorts of things as a result of the U.S. embargo. That's nothing new. And it's gotten a lot worse lately because of additional measures that the Trump administration has put. And they're basically at a crisis point. So there is the humanitarian crisis in and of itself. I'm not going to go too much into detail on that because there's a lot of humanitarian crisis in the world right now. And I do have to limit the focus of what what's going on.
Yeah, we're really focused on the U.S., you guys. For those of you who asked about like Mexico, I know I got a couple of DMs to Anthony asking him to talk about Mexico. And there's a reason that he avoids talking about these issues. It's because, we just don't have the full background of the.
We're already
of the country,
overwhelmed
of
with the
culture.
U.S. and is the U.S. causing a lot of these crises?
To get into foreign issues.
And when we are directly involved in the crisis, like for example, what's going on in Iran, which we will talk about later tonight.
Yep.
I tend to comment on them, but there's humanitarian crisis going on in
here in our home.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening, but Cuba is in crisis, and we may, depending on news that comes out, be in some type of military conflict with them as a result of these boats. But could also be that maybe it was a drunk running boat or something, and they just killed a bunch of drug smugglers and nothing happens. So we will see.
We'll see what happens. I want to talk about the State of the Union. I know it was so boring, you guys. The biggest comment I saw on any State of the Union videos was how boring Trump was.
Yeah. Even Barbara said that.
Yeah. And I don't think, like you said, there was anything shocking with what he said, right?
No. If you've seen, even if you haven't seen Trump talk before, it was an hour and a half of him saying all of the, racist, vile, Christian nationalist, etc. talking points that he's been saying for the last year and a half. So there wasn't anything shocking in the sense that he said something new and shocking.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that he said was, of course, vile and should be shocking, but we're so inured to it at this point that it doesn't seem that way. It was boring to watch, but it's important to recognize that the fact that it's boring is in and of itself
a problem,
a huge problem, because it means we're being normalized to what he's saying, and everything he was saying is, as always, completely vile
and propaganda. It means that propaganda is being normalized,
and unfortunately, he was rather coherent for himself throughout the whole thing. I don't know if they had him on. I kept saying they must have him on drugs or something, because he went for an hour and 46 minutes without any major rambling. And so he sounded, if you weren't listening to the words that he was saying, it sounded coherent. But if you paid any attention at all to the actual content of his speech, it was awful.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the bigger focus of the State of the Union is just what didn't happen.
Yeah.
Which is, why did the Democrats just sit there in silence? This really brought up a lot of anger for me.
Yeah. We had out of all the Democrats, the total in the House and Senate, there was 80 that didn't attend at all.
Right.
Some of those attended counter protests, and at least there was a counter protest. There was the one at, I think, the National Mall that was put on by Midas Touch. I personally agree. I don't know if any of you guys watched Tad Stormer. I love Tad Stormer. He put out a great video a couple days ago about the poor selection of the National Mall and
the location,
the Virginia governor to be kind of the master of ceremonies for this counter protest. There could have been so many better places to hold it. Minneapolis, for one, would have been a great place to hold a counter protest,
right? To
show the world, the state of the country it is in. So I wasn't particularly impressed with the counter protests to start with, but there were some Democrats that were at least at a counter event, so to speak.
I thought, it was like, what's the point of the counter protest? I'd prefer them be there and just like heckle and fucking.
That's exactly what I said.
Crazy,
exactly, right. So if the counter protest had been something attention grabbing, right, then that would have been something, right? So like in Minneapolis, where American citizens have been killed, where there's the president of the United States is waging war on one of its cities.
Yeah.
But that was not what happened. It was.
They could have had people from Minneapolis get up and give their testimony to what has happened in their country,
exactly.
In their state.
So the counter protest was fairly weak, in my opinion, to start with. And then, in my opinion, all of the Democrats should have been at the State of the Union and should have been disruptive. We saw that certainly in Biden and Obama State of the Unions, where there were Republicans heckling them the whole time.
Right.
And we had a total of 3 Democrats at the State of the Union that did anything at all. One was Al Green, who had a sign at the beginning that said, "Black people aren't apes," which is, of course, in reference to the extremely racist video that Trump posted on his social media the other day. Which, by the way, I just saw some news today that it's been discovered that one of the White House emergency response, I got the impression it was a social media manager. I don't know if it's the same one, but one of the White House aides has been confirmed to be behind a very high-level MAGA social media account.
Oh
called
my God.
called like Johnny MAGA that recently praised that video
One of
of
the White House aides.
yeah, one of the White House aides is behind a MAGA social media account that recently praised the video of the Obamas as monkeys.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, nothing shocks me
I don't
anymore
know
when
if
it
it's
comes
the
to
same.
racism in the White House.
I don't know if it's the same person, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. So they have literally like Nazis,
Yeah.
which is not surprising, but it's worth pointing out that it was confirmed.
I appreciate what Al
Yeah.
Green did with the sign.
So I appreciate the sign. He was
Yeah.
kicked out almost immediately,
Yeah.
but he was
It was
a very
on his own.
It was a
doing
very
that.
visible protest because it happened basically right as Trump was walking in.
Yeah. Which is fine.
So he did something, and then
there was two others, right?
yeah,
They
it
were
was
kind of heckling.
Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib.
Yeah.
Both were heckling Trump at various parts throughout the speech, which is what I would have liked to have seen from all the Democrats
Throughout the entire
Right.
speech.
Yeah, throughout the entire speech,
And the speech shouldn't have been able to finish. In my opinion,
Yeah.
things are so extreme. They should have all gone to the State of the Union. They should have all gotten up,
Yeah.
heckled him until he was unable to continue,
Yeah.
and until they're being kicked out.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
literally should have made a disruption and so big that they were all kicked out.
Absolutely.
They should not have allowed the State of the Union to.
And why do you
finish.
think that is the case? Are they weak? Like, what about them?
Because they're controlled opposition, most of
Yeah,
them.
I think most of them, Hakeem Jeffries was put out a statement ahead of time that they could either go to one of these counter events or sit there in quote silent defiance. Like, what the fuck is silent defiance?
That's some bullshit.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think it was like Colbert or something said something on the late night show tonight that that's their new rebranding for doing nothing.
Yep.
Yeah. So it
Hakeem
was
Jeffries is just as
it was a joke,
disappointing
and
as Chuck
and the whole
Schumer.
time Trump was like clowning on the Democrats that were there and like saying
Yeah.
absolutely awful things, and they're just sitting there taking it,
Yeah.
like no response. So
Unbelievable.
really awful optics from the Democrats. Obviously, the Republicans are the actual Nazis in the room.
course.
They were standing there clapping, chanting USA, cheering while Trump is saying this absolutely vile nonsense.
But there's something just as sinister about
But-
the party that's supposed to be representing the working people.
Yeah.
Just sitting there in silence.
I mean, it comes down to like, what's the quote from Martin Luther King about how the white moderate is more dangerous to the cause than the KKK member? You know, the one who wants like stability and doesn't want to disrupt the status quo.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact wording off the top of my head, but it's the same type of thing, right? They care more about the optics and the status quo and not disrupting, not looking disruptive than the actual cause. So. It was overall a really poor response from the Democrats. There were a few that did do some things, but awful overall.
So we have a message here from Just Cruise, and they said,
Yes.
just saw where Vance is pulling Medicaid funds from Minnesota, and Oz has introduced a 6-month moratorium blocking all new medical equipment, including prosthetics, wheelchairs, etc.
Yeah, this is absolutely awful. I saw that today as well. Very new news. So I do need to look into what exactly is being done. I expect lawsuits from Minnesota, but at this point, right, it's like, what are our tax dollars for? If they can just pull all of the things that our tax dollars are funding at their whim and nobody's going to stop them, they're literally pulling, Medicaid from the poorest people in, not poorest, I shouldn't say, but like Medicaid is basically for
Elderly,
elderly,
disabled.
disabled, and I
vulnerable.
think there's income. I get it confused with.
Yeah, those are
I get
vulnerable
Medicare and
communities.
Medicaid confused every now and then.
Yeah.
protected community.
But these are people that need these services, and they're pulling it from them
And children.
and children.
Children.
Yeah, so they're taking away their health care because Minnesota is not, standing down to the Trump administration's literally fascist authoritarian abuse.
Yeah, Lori says there was no mention of Minnesota ICE Epstein
Yeah.
in the Democratic
No,
rebuttal.
yeah, there was nothing at all. It was very weak. So it's controlled opposition is what it is at this point.
Yeah, it just secures the message to me that it's up to us.
Yeah.
It's
You'd be
really
saying they
up
hoped
to
that They would have
us.
stood up and walked out, but they didn't. Jasmine says, someone said the Dem leaders told Dems not to come if they were going to cause a scene.
Yeah, that was
I
Hakeem Jeffries.
disagree. They need to be disruptive instead of sitting quietly. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that, and I do want to point out that goes for all of us as well, right? The Dem, kind of what I was saying in the short last night. What the Dem leaders need to be doing is what all of us need to be doing, which is being disruptive.
Yeah.
And not sitting quietly and waiting for midterms or, for some big protest to be organized out of nowhere. We all need to be protesting.
Yeah.
Weekly, voting with our money, organizing a general strike, and being disruptive. rather than what the Dems did, which is sit quietly and, you know, hope that something good happens.
I'm ready. Every time we go to a protest and there's like, you know, we're just like not going in the street. I'm like, why are we not blocking the street?
Yeah.
Why are we not getting out there? Why are we not being disruptive? That's the whole point.
So just an aside there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Any questions?
Another,
we're good for
interesting
here.
point was that basically Trump's approval rating with the independents, you know, had an all-time low prior to
That's
the
right.
State of the Union.
I mean,
right.
his approval rating's been dropping, and it is certainly at an all-time low, and that's good to see, but it's still not low enough, right? He's still got that basically 33% base that is ride or die.
Yeah.
And we saw all of the Republicans in Congress cheering at his words, which were awful. So,
but that doesn't necessarily represent his constituents.
They're doing that as a show for their constituents, right? So, and I'm sure they're all, a lot of them are also, you know, in support of what Trump is doing, but they wouldn't be doing that if they didn't think that their constituents would approve of it. So, yeah, it's not low enough.
Yeah. Well, it's at 36%.
Yeah.
And he said that it was at 40%, and then that was a fake poll.
Yeah.
He couldn't even say the 36 number, which is the actual number.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he just says it's all lies.
Pretty much every number that he said last night was made up. I think he said something about bringing in like 16 or 18 trillion dollars in foreign investments, and which doesn't even match up with the White House's own story, which is like 9 trillion in foreign investments. It says on the White House page.
Right.
And if you look into that, like a lot of that is coming from countries that like couldn't possibly invest the amount of money that the White House says that they're investing. So it's like it's all just like promises that mean nothing. It's lies and lies and lies and lies. So
the price of a plane.
that was the whole thing. You know, I don't think we need to recap everything that he said because it's
definitely not.
It's new. It's nothing new and it's all vile, but it was bad. It was bad. Let's see.
Yeah. Something else that happened this week was the Supreme Court, you know, made this massive decision against Trump's tariffs.
Yeah.
And he has been, you know, complaining ever since. In fact, did you see, I don't know if you saw this, but he called into C-SPAN.
Yeah.
Under his fake name.
Yeah, he
John
did
Barron. Did you see that?
John Barron thing.
How
Yeah.
embarrassing.
It's
I mean,
not-
how
it's-
pathetic.
It's not the first time he's done that. He does that quite frequently. I don't think he's maybe done it this term yet, but he did that quite frequently in his first term.
He didn't even try to hide that it was
No.
his voice.
No, he's not capable.
Yeah, and they cut him off so quickly. Like
Yeah.
you could tell that the newscaster recognized that it was
Yeah.
Trump, and that she just like moved on to someone else really
gotta see that
quickly.
clip.
Yeah.
You gotta watch it.
He literally called in.
He's like,
That's
"Hi, this is
insane.
John Barron."
Yeah.
and he's like, "I just want to say this is a despicable decision by the Supreme Court." And he
Yeah.
goes on and just complain, and she was like, "Okay, we're gonna take the next caller."
Yeah.
and she moves on, and it's literally Trump.
Oh my god, so embarrassing.
It's literally Trump.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It's very on brand for him.
Yeah.
You know.
But what do you think about the decision? I mean, does this mean that the Trump tariffs are over?
No. The Supreme Court decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it does not. The Supreme Court decision was very narrowly related to the IEEPA, the International Economic Emergency Powers Act, which is what the Trump administration was trying to use to justify their previous tariffs, and that was voted down by the Supreme Court. They said that the act does not give him the power to impose taxes, and tariffs are taxes. But like a lot of Supreme Court rulings, it very narrowly applies to that specific act. So they're using a different act now, which I think is the Trade Act of, I want to say 1974.
They're going way back.
They're going way back,
Trade
yeah.
Act of 1974.
Which lets the president
Crazy.
put,
What are we talking about?
yeah, so it lets the president put 10 to 15% tariffs for up to 150 days to account for balance of trade deficits.
And what does that
which
mean?
It doesn't mean anything in modern economics. It meant something in 1973, right?
Back when there was like too much tea.
It
on the
meant
ship.
something in
What are
19
they talking
Yeah, it
about,
meant
dude?
something in
What are
1973
we
when
living in?
developing countries would basically peg their currency against the US dollar.
Oh my
and they
God.
would buy US dollars in order to like manipulate the value of their currency relative to the dollar.
That's insane.
That system doesn't exist anymore
What
for
a
the most
reach.
part. And even when the act was passed, it didn't exist anymore. So
So isn't that just going to get shot down too by the courts?
eventually, I'm sure, there will be some court some federal court that rules against it fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Right. The question is whether the Supreme Court wants to play games again, where they delay it and then see it after a year, after it no longer matters that they've seen the case.
Right. Like, look how
which
much
is-
damage has already been done.
Which is probably what's going to happen, right? So the only really effect of this ruling, unless there's quick responses to future tariffs, which I don't have hope for that. The only real effect of this ruling is that the major corporations can now sue the Trump administration for their lost funds because of the tariffs, which of course they will also keep the profit that they've from the increased prices they put on consumers after the tariff. So they basically get to double dip on the American taxpayer.
And that's exactly what they're doing. FedEx is filing a lawsuit.
So FedEx is filing a lawsuit. Costco, I hear, has plans to file a lawsuit.
Nice.
I would expect that any major corporation that has the ability to do so will file a lawsuit. Will the U.S. people see any of that money? Probably not.
No, I don't think we'll ever get a refund.
It's not
checks.
certainly not through lawsuits. If the U.S. people see any type of refund from that tariffs, it's going to have to be through Congress. So maybe the Dems take back in the midterms and they force a refund check because of that. But as I've said before, we don't need to be waiting for the midterms for things to happen. We need to be acting now. So
you know what check we'll never see? The check that Trump promised with the revenue from the tariffs to the American people.
So
what a joke.
Here, he won't abide by the decision, and he even said so to the Supreme Court justice that attended his address yesterday.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're already looking for these excuses otherwise, and the Supreme Court, as well as Congress, have basically conceded all of their power.
And since I was wondering about this act, I literally having to research acts from
I mean, it's
history.
very confusing because, he's pulling these acts from decades and decades ago.
Absolutely. So there's
irrelevant to today's economy.
I had to look it up too, guys, and it took me like half an hour to figure out what balance of trade deficit even meant because, as I said, it's a nonsensical term.
Yeah. I came into his room. He was watching like an extensively long video from like an economist
there was
explaining it.
There's a video from a Nobel Prize winning economist on YouTube.
You guys should watch it if you actually want to know.
Let me pull it up. He's actually, according to himself, which if he's Nobel winning, I tend to agree with his statement. According to himself, he's basically the one that invented the
pretty interesting
term balance of trade deficits. Just a second.
So he's literally the source as to what the definition of that is. But there's a video on YouTube. We can actually pin it on the channel.
This is interesting. Matt says if forced to lower tariffs, it may actually help Trump by lowering prices. What do you think about that?
Prices never go down after they go up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like on both sides, even Republicans are acknowledging that the prices are not going to go back down.
The Republicans are, for the most part, actually agreeing with the Supreme Court. When I was, I go on the Republican channels almost daily to see what the vibe is.
Yeah.
And you have to be pretty quick to see their actual reactions before they all get moderated and censored into oblivion. But I didn't even really see censorship about this. Like the Republicans generally agree that the tariffs were illegal and are happy that they're removed and have the same type of reactions that we're having, which is that of course all the corporations are going to pocket this.
Yeah, probably because their corporate
people aren't going to see it. So, we're getting a lot of the same responses there. To go back, the economist is Paul Krugman. He's on YouTube and he has a video about it. But it's some crazy nonsense.
Alex brings up an important point, saying it's crazy how normalized it is that our president brings is a part of a pedophile ring, protecting a ring of them, and is somehow this is all overlooked to talk about tariffs at the State of the Union. I think that's what we were getting at about the lack of balls from the Democratic Party.
We literally have a pedophile who has protected a ring of pedophiles.
Yeah.
Standing up there.
I mean, the whole government
telling lies after lies.
Yeah. It's not just Trump, it's the whole government.
Administration full of pedophiles. Like, let's be real.
And, I hardly expected Trump to bring it up. He's not going to bring it up himself, but the fact that the Democrats didn't bring it up either, right? It's tells you what you need.
Tells you everything you need to know about who our leadership is.
Yeah. And it says FedEx and Costco had put up tariffs up front, so they're suing because of that, but it doesn't get passed down to the customers. Doesn't it get passed down to the customers eventually?
No, I mean corporations like how is Costco going to pass that back down to you? They're not going to send you a check because of tariffs.
Trump is also saying that he doesn't.
And Costco is one of the better companies, right? It's privately owned and well managed.
Yeah.
The only way that we're getting reimbursed is if Congress passes legislation to do so.
I don't think Congress will do that. Yeah, I was just going to say he's
The-
saying that he doesn't even need
yeah.
Congress
The-
to
the-
pass new tariffs.
I mean, he can say whatever he says,
But they don't
it's
do anything about
yeah,
it.
exactly. If Congress was doing their job, he wouldn't have been able to do this in the first place.
Yeah.
And the truth is, guys, the current tariff issues are part of a problem that goes back a long time, because there's like 7 or 8 pieces of legislation on the books where
Yeah.
Congress has given up their power to impose taxes via tariffs to the president via one method or the other.
So you're saying
Right.
this is not new.
This
necessarily.
is a result of decades of Congress abdicating parts of their power to the executive,
Mhm.
and part of the solution in the long term, aside from like complete constitutional reform, which is necessary,
Yeah.
is that Congress takes those powers back.
Mhm.
But of course, Congress is not doing their job right now, intentionally. So yeah, we're not going to see it. We're certainly not going to see a refund from the Republicans because they need that money to fund ICE.
I like
Yeah.
what Dee says. They said he'll pay it out right before the midterms.
I could see them try
Probably
something
like
like that.
promise
Yeah.
he'll pay it out right before the midterms, just to say he did.
I don't think
Or
I don't think
That's true.
I don't think the Republicans will.
And isn't
because
that
I don't,
shit insane that we live in a place where
Yeah.
literally where everyone's so like they care about $2,000 check? That's less than 1 week of a normal job that pays
Yeah.
pretty much a minimum wage
Yeah.
to basically look past pedophilia, corruption on the
Yeah.
deepest level, internal strife, literally
Yeah.
everything wrong with our country for $2,000.
Well, I
Are
mean,
you
that's not
kidding
new
me?
either. I mean, if you look at like interviews with just like the average
Yeah.
Republican, they'll overlook racism and all sorts of things just because they think the economy will get better because
Yeah.
of Trump. That's like been a decade now of that.
it's yeah, I don't think so. Trump can't issue the check himself.
Yeah.
Like he really can't. That's one of the things he can't just like have checks mailed out.
Okay.
Even through executive order.
Not that he would.
Congress has to do it. Even the last check that had his name on it, Congress did it and he just signed it essentially.
Yeah.
I don't think they will because they're starving for money right now. The whole
Yeah.
reason they needed these tariffs in the first place was to fund ICE.
Fund ICE and
and
the
everything
billionaires.
else they're doing,
The tax
and
cuts.
they're facing having to pay them back to these major corporations who have
Yeah.
the means to take the money back from them.
Yeah.
And so I don't see them doing that. I wouldn't be surprised if they try it, but I wouldn't count on that.
What do you think about foreign countries who are now freezing trade deals or threatening to freeze trade deals
I mean that
because
just,
of,
that just makes sense,
you know?
right? I like Europe. Europe is
Do you think they're actually going to do that?
oh yeah, and they should.
It's been interesting talking in the chat about the farmers because we know
Second.
that's one of historically Trump and the Republicans' biggest
Yeah.
supporters. They're saying
Right.
that the farmers
Becca-
have yet to get bailed out. And Becca's saying personally, she can tell from experience the farmers are suffering. Her uncle complains about it now. And I'm reminding him who he voted for.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Even when I go through,
Yeah.
when I drove down through like Fresno, Modesto, there's all these signs that are like, Gavin Newsom stealing the water. And I'm like, where's all this shit
Yeah.
that you guys were promised from the federal government?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yet they're still like blindsided and willing to look anywhere else except
Yeah.
for the federal government.
Shout out to Becca, by the way, guys. Becca's the one that just asked the question. And Becca was one of like 2 or 3 people with me in group chat on Patreon last night for the whole State of the Union speech. So
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Shout
I
out
love that there's a
Becca.
group chat now.
we were playing Trump bingo, which made it slightly better. But anyhow, yeah, the farmers. I mean, I don't have the exact numbers, but the farmers almost entirely vote Republican.
Yeah, Republican.
So they voted for this, and you know, farms are typically one of the biggest recipients of government money. Subsidies for the cost of their food, subsidies to grow crops, subsidies to not grow crops.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can talk about the legitimacy of that system and whatnot and what's needed. We are one of the major, like, feeders of the world. So,
Yeah.
I generally consider that a net positive use of my tax dollars.
Mhm.
But,
We have a great question from Alex here.
it's,
Do you think that this is a great opportunity for families who have people in MAGA that are finally waking up to come together?
I think we're past that.
No, I don't think we're
So-
past. I
so-
mean, look, we are past it. Let me
Yeah.
just answer first because I know you have a smarter answer than me.
okay.
But in my personal opinion,
Yeah.
we're past it, but we have to bring it back. We have to bring it back because we need those people in order to bring down this administration.
So I don't think you're gonna logic somebody into a position that, or logic somebody out of a position they didn't logic their way into. There has to be some type of willingness to question the status quo coming from the MAGA person in the first place. You can introduce that into people, but it's a long process, and it typically involves getting them to question their own logic, not through using logic of your own, but just like the technique for it is like basically just asking leading questions until they kind of start questioning what they're saying themselves.
I think the
Um,
technique is also like,
yeah.
frankly, psychological manipulation, because if you
Well, yeah, that's
go
what it
into the
is.
conversation making them on the defense
Yeah.
constantly, then they're just gonna, you're backing them into the corner. They're going to continue to
Yeah.
defend their position.
You have to be, the art of convincing somebody anything is convincing them that they themselves should think, would
That's
come to the
right.
same conclusion as you. To do that, you have to be able to put yourself in the mindset of a MAGA person and
It's impossible.
follow their own logic to get there. So,
Yeah.
it's always the time if you think that somebody is open to that.
Mhm.
I don't know that, and I think that there are more MAGA open to it in the first place right now because of the,
Epstein files.
they are
It's the
responding.
Epstein files.
They are responding to the Epstein files. I know it doesn't seem that way, but there is a response amongst the MAGA base. They're certainly responding to the tariffs, to the economy.
Mhm.
There is a lot more in general criticism of Trump in conservative communities than there was even 3 months ago.
Mhm.
So there is that, but I don't expect, uh, getting somebody off of MAGA isn't necessarily mean they're going to start becoming a liberal. It may
No,
just
of
mean that
course
they
not.
don't vote in the next election.
Yeah.
But if you think somebody is, let's put the kitty down. If you think somebody is open to that, we're not going to get out of the situation the United States is in on our own, right?
Yeah.
And our own means like progressives,
Yeah.
liberals, leftists, depending on how you want to
Right.
define yourself. And a part of what we're going to need, and this is kind of like they're not necessarily our friends, but they may be allies of convenience at some point.
Mhm.
MAGA is essentially running on a populist base, right? They're
Yes.
about like for the people, drain the swamp, right? Get rid of the bill. MAGA is also
Corruption.
on the get
Yeah.
rid of the billionaire, restrain the corruption, all of that.
Yes.
That's how Trump got elected in the first place, right? And this goes back to the whole thing of like the 1% is pitting people against each other, pitting the poors against each other, poor people. I should say the poor, excuse me.
Well, we're poor compared to them.
Yeah, the poors. I'm sorry. Is pitting people against each other in order so that, we're looking left and right rather than up.
Yeah.
That is not to excuse MAGA for what they've done and the amount of, vile racism and everything else that's going on.
None of it's to
But
excuse
if we
them.
are to have the type of reform and revolution in the U.S. that leads to permanent change, constitutional rewrite,
Mhm.
which is what we need, then we're going to have to work with them at some
Yes.
point to get rid of the 1%.
Yes. We don't have the luxury
yeah.
to only converse with people we agree with.
We don't have to like them, but we do have to be willing to work with them. And yeah, if it's your family, I mean, that's a very personal decision on if you value those relationships enough compared to what has been said or done with that person.
Yeah, and there's different angles, right, for
yeah.
different people. For some people, it could be, religion, especially with women and mothers, seeing what's happening in the detention centers to children, to women. It's very compelling to mothers, to people of faith, right? You could take it from that angle. You can also I think the best angle is personally, stop looking left and right and look up.
Yeah. Anna says it's like reprogramming from cognitive dissonance. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, right?
That's right.
MAGA is in a place. It is a cult. Any type of cult unprogramming is overcoming cognitive dissonance, and that's why it comes down to you have to convince them that in their current mindset something doesn't make sense and they need to question it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to
you
have
cannot do that. You
to-
cannot do that with external logic, and you cannot
cognitive
expect it
dissonance.
to happen quickly. I don't have the patience for it, to be honest. I have a very short. Gabby and Daniel can confirm.
Yeah.
I am more willing to burn bridges than I probably should be. But,
Nobody's perfect, guys.
yeah, but that doesn't mean it's not important.
It is important
thing to do.
It is important.
We don't debate with fascists. You know what I mean? It's like at some point at this point, if you're still a supporter after everything's been said and done, in my opinion, it's over, bro. You're over.
Yeah,
We have to find a
forget about
balance between we
Yeah.
don't debate fascists and building community.
Yeah. But your family and what your family is willing to do and what you're willing to do for your family is so personal based on so many factors. I don't want to give blanket advice for that.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue on.
So
one chat
go ahead.
from Joshua Kurtz. Can you scroll down a little bit? They said, I'm a former GWOT Marine,
Mm-hmm.
which it looks like it says here it was a Marine in support of the global war on terrorism after September 11th. Very interesting. Thank you for your service, first of all, Joshua.
Absolutely.
Very interesting perspective having someone who's served in our military and kind of even coming from you, someone who would typically be supporting the government, saying traveling to foreign countries, being an American is going to be bad for a long time and we're falling into a fascist country.
Yeah.
That's a very... That's crazy. And I kind of wonder now what the state of the general people in the military are. You know what I mean?
wonder that
Serving
as
under an
well.
administration like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say. I certainly see a lot of. I have no connection to the military, so I'm not going to speak on their behalf. I see a lot of military service members on social media talking out against the Trump administration or former military service members. But of course, I'm going to see mainly the circles that I'm in. So it's very hard for me to say how the military as a whole feels.
Well, another thing I wonder about is like Trump, one of the groups he kind of was looking to get support from was from like war veterans. It's like, has Trump done anything for war veterans?
No.
Is like
No.
our
He's deported them.
U.S. military members in any better position they were?
No, I
than-
mean, if anything, they've taken away,
says no.
they've defunded or taken away a lot of the
They've
services that
defunded
veterans
veterans
rely on,
services.
Medicare, Medi-Cal, all these things, veteran services. They basically disassembled a large portion of the VA.
yeah.
So typical. I want to say Republican, but it's just typical U.S. government is not caring for veterans after they've left the military. So
That's right.
Bonnie brings up a good point.
As far as I do want to go back to that other one though, as far as that question was really more about the U.S. Reception of U.S. people worldwide, and yeah, I mean it's in the tank. It's in the
Yes.
tank for a lot of reasons, and of course the number one is that we are supporting, if through non-action than anything else, at least through non-action, if not actively supporting a fascist dictator in the most powerful country in the world.
Yeah, I mean, the world is looking at us
Yeah.
and thinking the same thing we're thinking about the Democrats at the State of the Union.
Yeah.
They're saying, why are they allowing this to happen? France wouldn't allow this to
And
happen.
that's a valid question.
Yeah, it is. It is a valid question.
Bonnie says here, have you seen any reaction from the MAGA about NPR's investigation? Apparently they found 50 plus pages missing from the Epstein files, credible FBI interviews about Trump sexually assaulting a minor.
No, Epstein Files is one of the most heavily censored things in MAGA, and unless there is some big news about it that's on like all the major news stations, and I don't just mean like the ones we watch, it gets shut down very quickly. So,
Well, I will say this
It-
story
it-
specifically
yeah.
is covered by NPR.
yeah, it was, and but NPR is one of those sources that MAGA considers to be a liberal
True.
hellhole. So,
True.
no, they're not. I wouldn't be surprised if most of them are not even aware of it.
All they
And-
hear is Trump saying that
yeah.
he was exonerated.
And well, no, there is a general consensus amongst MAGA that there is a cover up for the Epstein files and that the Trump administration is actively covering up for them at this point. I didn't see a lot of reaction to this NPR news, but the general reaction amongst MAGA that at least in the communities I follow, would probably be that typical government cover up.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between them like negatively perceiving something and actually doing something about it.
Yep. I like to follow that one guy who interviews his
yeah.
MAGA parents.
Yeah.
And he's with his liberal sister, you
Yeah.
know that guy? And I like to see like where his mom's at.
Yeah.
Because she's like deeply, deeply MAGA.
Yeah.
And she's actually being fed all the factual information by her son.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see like when she's breaking. And let me tell you, she's breaking right
Yeah.
now
So
with the Epstein files.
It's I don't think they would be surprised, but getting them to actually do something about it is the real problem, right?
Getting them to believe the information in the first place.
There's a lot of the same apathy in MAGA that there is in the left right now, which is like the government's corrupt. There's nothing that can be done about it. We're all going to, X or Y. And I do want to point out, I've said this before, but be very careful when you're watching all of these comments, especially on like my social media channels.
Yeah.
There is so much, or in any liberal social media channel, I assume, there is so much like negative,
Yes.
hopeless, like, oh, this is like how it's all going to end.
Seemingly from the left.
Yeah.
It's probably bots, bro.
And yeah, exactly.
That's
right.
exactly
this
right.
This is psyops, right? Like
Yep.
I'm sure there's real people that feel that way and they're commenting that. And because that's a valid opinion, and that
Definitely
is
bots.
certainly a possibility if we don't do anything. but be aware that there is psychological manipulation happening, and that one of the biggest ways to keep people from action is simply to enforce the narrative of hopelessness, right? That's one of the things we've seen in previous elections is like, oh, people just don't show up to vote because they don't feel like it's worth it.
No King's protest round one did not seem hopeless to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think,
No,
I
it
don't
was
think we're in a hopeless
very
state.
powerful.
I'm just a general type person.
Yeah.
I feel like you should never embrace that mentality.
Yeah, and
I mean, that's just ridiculous.
I'm not trying to hope core either, right? This is going to take a lot of action from a lot of Americans, and I think it's unlikely. But to say that it's hopeless is,
you think what is
wrong.
unlikely?
That I think it's less likely that Americans rise up to do everything that needs to be
this
done.
is where Anthony and I disagree.
Yeah.
I do believe that Americans will rise up. I think what troubles me is that they're going to wait too long.
Well, if they wait too long, then they haven't risen up, have they?
No, they're
Like
going
we've
to
already
rise up.
waited
It's just
too
going to
long.
be very ugly, I think.
Yeah, well, it's we don't want to feel like we're winning, because we're not. There is a lot of work left to be done, but we also don't want to feel like there's nothing that can be done.
Yeah, I feel like the
because,
fear.
it basically comes down to people acting.
I feel like the problem is like a lot of people just don't want to die. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like at some level, like in LA, like if they really pop off on these protests, like people are going to die. Like somebody's going to
Of
die, and
course.
like nobody
People
wants to
have
be
died.
the one to die.
Yeah,
people
people
have
have
died.
died.
But I'm saying like
But-
more people will
Yes.
die.
Yeah.
And especially if Trump goes like full psychopath.
Nobody wants
Yeah.
to put themselves in the front line.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be that person.
Bonnie says we wouldn't be in here if we felt hopeless. Yes, I don't think it's this group for the most part. If you're here with us, I expect you're probably one of the people that are taking active action. But it's important to also not assume that because we are very involved that everyone else is.
Yeah, I just wanted to also point out in the chat there was some talk more from Joshua and some other people talking about how the VA's lost a lot of money, and there was some specific legislation brought up that we obviously haven't looked into, but basically they were saying a lot of vets they know are personally extremely unhappy with the state of things, which is another disenfranchised group.
Oh, they're definitely feeling
who was
it.
counting on support.
Yeah, because they cut major funds from the Veterans Affairs Department. So they're definitely, veterans who rely on those services are definitely feeling it.
Cynthia's got a good quote. I've heard this before. I can't remember where it's from. It says, the opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy. True.
Vikram says, have you ever seen any polling or indication about employees in the American intelligence apparatus and their opinions on Trump?
No.
mean, I-
No, I haven't. One way or the other.
I don't even know if do they do that? I don't know.
It's so hard to tell with anything going on with that, like what's true and what's not, that I tend not to put too much credence into rumors about it.
Anthony, I actually am interested on your answer to this question here. Alex asked, what do you think about Olaf and Tallarico and the possibility of turning these red states blue? Do you think that that's a possibility?
Tallarico, I think is in a good place, but he's not the first Democrat like himself
Yeah.
that we've seen in coming out of Texas with kind of this like semi-moderate Democrat Christian vibe, talks well popular. So I think he has a chance, but first of all, we have to see where the primaries go, right? From what I've heard, Crockett is leading in the primaries, and Crockett's a great candidate too.
She is a great
We
candidate.
have to. I hear
fierce.
I hear a lot of conversation that's like, oh, well, Tallarico's the kind of person that can win because he's white male Christian, and I think we need to recognize that there's a lot.
Jasmine
of, like,
Crockett is more qualified.
Yeah. We need to recognize that there's a lot of like misogyny and racism
like
inherent
80%
in that,
misogyny.
and we shouldn't be embracing that as a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
So Tallarico's great, Crockett's great. If I was in Texas, I would vote for either one of them. But
Yeah,
we
Brittany says
will see.
Tallarico is a sheep in wolf's clothing.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know.
Does she mean that the other way around?
I don't know a lot about him other than what I've seen in the interview, so I shouldn't even really say he's great. What I've seen of his platform is the type of platform that more or less I would support, but I don't know
On the
anything about his
surface, with
history.
what he's put out lately,
Yeah.
he seems good. I would have to look more into his background before endorsing him. At this time, I would vote for Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah.
I think she's more qualified.
You got a lot more topics here, guys.
Yeah, let's keep
Should
going.
we move
We may go a little past, but I don't think anybody's going to complain about that.
We definitely should talk about Anthropic.
Yeah.
This is a big thing that happened this week. So Pete Hegseth warned Anthropic to let the military use the company's AI tech as it sees fit.
Yeah. And this was one of the questions from the I think one of our big sibs as well.
Yeah.
I
Says
forgot to
Matt.
write the name down, but I saw your question. This is in response to that.
Yeah.
So, so what's going on with Anthropic, which is one of the major AI companies in the U.S. right now? They have an AI Claude that is being used by the U.S. government in military applications already for various classified reasons. We can assume at least data compilation and probably like management of like battlefield data. I don't know exactly. They're not going to tell us. And what's going on is that Anthropic has some restrictions that they have on the use of Claude in I don't know if it's actually Claude, but on the use of their AI in by the U.S. government, and they will not allow it to be used for either mass surveillance of American citizens, or they will not allow it to be used for military targeting applications without a certain level of human involvement, which basically goes down to like humans have to pull the trigger. Like the AI cannot make the decision to kill, which is, I think, something we
Can all agree
can
on?
all agree on. We've all seen, Terminator, etc., The Matrix, whatever. Like, there's a reason all of these movies exist. Do I think AI is there yet? No, but
iRobot.
that doesn't mean we don't need to be careful of things like that. So Anthropic has refused to remove these safeguards, and Hegseth is trying to force them to do so by saying that the U.S. will essentially nationalize or federalize or take over Anthropic and force them to use it using one of the defense acts that essentially allows the U.S. government, it's from the 50s, that essentially allows the U.S. government to force corporations to produce certain things for wartime. And he's threatening to basically try and take over Anthropic and force them to remove these safeguards.
Yeah, it says some interesting things I just looked up about Anthropic. It says they use its own constitutional AI training approach where models are aligned with ethical principles during learning to generate safer, more controllable behavior.
Yeah.
Things that, impact societal impact, governance, AI safety, and interpretability. Now, the problem is if they start using this for military applications, where does the ethical principles
So
get
They all
left?
go away.
most of the larger AI have certain safeguards on them, except for Grok, which we've all
Grok.
Grok
Oh
is doing
my God.
absolutely vile things right now.
They're making a lot of money too.
Yeah.
Grok's been going crazy.
Yeah.
Including being used to produce child sexual abuse material.
That's right.
And
And
but
to speak inappropriately with children.
Yeah, but most of these major AIs have safeguards built into them so that your average person can't use them to do things like develop nuclear weapons, plot terrorist attacks, crimes, etc.
Yeah.
The governments have access to some versions that have less restrictions on them. Presumably because they'll use them more responsibly in general. Didn't know about the Trump administration. And basically Hegseth wants them to remove all of their safeguards so that the government can use it for what Hegseth calls any legal means.
So the military can use it.
The military can use it, yeah. So basically, the government can use it for mass surveillance along with like Palantir. And then so that the military can use it for targeting and presumably like making AI, allowing AI type decisions to like who to kill and who not to.
I mean, do you think? But like nobody respects Pete Hegseth, and like I don't see. I like these CEOs and movers and shakers of these massive AI companies are literally more powerful than like probably the president. So it's like it says here that Dario Amodi, who's I guess the CEO, he's literally saying I'm going to refuse to drop these limits, especially for fully autonomous weapons.
That's my question.
So
Like, can he refuse?
Well, they have refused so far. There was some news, I think yesterday, that they've made some concessions, but that was actually, from what I can tell, was a little different. That was on more of like the use of Anthropic for, like I was saying, like kind of nuclear research means or other things like that. Things that are classified to the general public but not to the government.
Yeah.
So they've relaxed some of their restrictions in other areas, but they have so far refused to budge on the two big points. Nobody really knows what's going to happen yet, including myself. The overall, these companies like Google and Facebook and Anthropic and whatnot are essentially the keys to power to the U.S. government. So there is a limit to how much Hegseth and Trump can push them as a whole. But whether or not Anthropic in and of itself has enough power to resist, or if the other major AI companies basically turn on Anthropic to gain an edge in the market is yet to be seen.
Well, they
I know
100% will.
Hegseth has taken the first steps in using this Defense Act, which is he's asked some of the other major AI companies to basically audit Anthropic to determine if their AI is like here. Can you
we
guys
be
hear us?
seen?
Okay, sorry
Yay.
guys. We're using some kind of free streaming software. We may have to upgrade to some paid streaming software.
about
But
that, guys.
It's the government is not coming to our house to get us.
Thanks
Keep scaring
Thanks
people.
to our paid supporters,
Yeah.
we might be able to upgrade to.
Yeah, we're gonna have to upgrade
OBS.
our streaming software. It seems to want to crash on us once we're live. So
Wow.
That's right.
anyhow, thank you for staying with us.
One thing I was bringing up in the gap was that, going back to our conversation about AI companies with the government, is that currently Claude is the only model that's actually approved with the Pentagon's AI program. But there's other companies, Google, OpenAI, XAI, that are in the talks of being approved for the Pentagon's program, at which point Claude will be less important. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like...
I mean, eventually,
If they don't do it, will somebody
eventually it is a
else?
matter of will somebody else do it, and the answer is yes.
always
But
yes.
they do
Of
want.
course it's yes.
They do. Claude is already integrated, to my understanding, in a lot of these systems. I don't know the
Cynthia
details
says,
of
let's
that,
chip in for the
but
premium.
it
You
would
already
certainly
are,
be
guys. Thank
easier
you so
for them
much.
to get Claude to get Anthropic to fold than to try and integrate one of these other systems. And yes, Cynthia, as Daniel said, you guys are already chipping in. we are doing all of this. We got all these new mics
You guys are
because
already
of you
doing
guys.
everything.
So you don't need to.
No
chip
need.
in any
Thank you guys
further.
so much.
Okay, so just to refocus in, any more points specifically about this question?
No, I actually want to move to the Epstein files because there's a lot to talk about with the Epstein files.
We're already getting close to our hour. Man, we
Yeah.
could just talk all night,
And
guys.
there's a lot that happened.
Okay.
So first of all, I've been wanting to talk about this NPR article. You know I have.
Sure.
Because I'm convinced that this is like the beginning of what we're going to see, the downfall of Trump.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the beginning of it. So basically, NPR confirmed that the Justice Department withheld and removed some Epstein files related to accusations against Trump.
Yeah.
So did you read the article? What did you think? Do you think it's credible?
Yeah. The article is basically NPR has reviewed a bunch of files that are publicly released, some of which have since been deleted by the Justice Department, but all these major news corporations got the initial dump. And they've been cross-referencing mentions in the files of other documents, and specifically the NPR article is about a series of interviews with two women.
Yes.
That there are there's a legal term for the numbering on the legal documents.
Bates numbers?
Bates numbers, yeah. So basically there's a lot of different legal documents in the currently released Epstein files that reference these interviews and like interview notes and descriptions that happened with these women. And despite the fact that these documents about these interviews clearly exist and are referenced in the publicly available documents, the actual interviews themselves do not exist in the public.
So the Bates numbers are referenced, but we don't have those.
But we don't have them. So there's about 50 pages missing for the first woman that they talked about, who is somebody that accused Trump of sexually assaulting her with Epstein.
Yes.
When she was 13. There was a series of 4 interviews. Only the first one is available. First one doesn't talk about Trump. The second woman, there was a series of 6 interviews. The NPR article was a little confusing on this, but from what I understood, the second woman hasn't herself directly accused Trump of any actual sexual assault.
Yes.
She mentions seeing him, being introduced to him by Epstein and feeling uncomfortable around him, but it's not like the first one where there's
That's
a direct
my understanding
accusation.
as well.
However, the second victim is referenced widely by other people that have been interviewed in the Epstein files, so she seems to be a key figure in various investigations. And several of those other investigations are missing, including one with her mother that was initially posted. You can actually go read it on NPR's website, and then since removed. But the point is, these are all things that should have been published. It's basically proof that the FBI is withholding information. So as far as do I think it's like the game changer? No, I don't think so. No, because it's something we don't already know. We already know the FBI is withholding all this information. This is.
But what about the fact that this woman? I believe that she actually got a settlement with Epstein and her claims against Epstein, which means she was credible enough to where she had enough evidence to where she was able to get a settlement. So that adds to her credibility. And then she's the one making the accusations against Trump.
Yeah. But I mean, again, to the public, you have to look at this from like public response, right? Like the public either is like us, in which we already understand this
Already know.
information.
We
is
already
true.
know.
We already know this is true.
Yeah.
This is proof of something we already know, which unfortunately is not proof of something we don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to have the impact that people think it is. It's a very important piece of reporting. It's another piece of evidence in the continued fight against the Epstein files. I don't think it's going to necessarily be the straw that breaks the camel's back, or that gets everything going. I'm actually Eva here mentions Prince Andrew's arrest.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm actually very interested in following that because if the arrest itself isn't just pretense by the British police, of doing something, which I know nothing of British police and corruption or lack of corruption and whether or not that is a possibility. But if it's not just a pretense of doing something for public image, Prince Andrew's arrest, and I think there was also another person, the Lord.
The other people who were arrested?
Lord Mandelson, I think.
Yeah, Mendelsohn.
Mandelson was also arrested recently. Those are, Andrew especially, seems to be right up there with like Trump and potentially Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
And
He was
some
a
of the others,
co-conspirator.
Co-conspirator, or at least a very large client, right?
Yes.
So, and Andrew is, again, I don't follow the British royal family, but everything I have heard about Andrew is that he's a slimeball and a coward.
A coward
Right.
is key.
And as I've said, right, we love cowards because cowards talk.
That's
so
right.
Andrew may throw everyone else under the bus to try and get some type of plea deal if this is an actual real investigation and not just
Hopefully the royal family
a sham.
presses him as a sacrifice to protect their good name.
Yeah.
They have to.
Well, yeah,
They have to, but
I
hopefully
don't know.
do.
I don't know about good name, but Charles hates Andrew.
Yeah, they're a bunch of racists.
Yeah, Charles hates.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot about all that.
Yeah.
They're just some nice white people
They're-
across the pond.
terrible.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
British royalty. I'm not even going to say they've never done anything wrong because somebody will
They're
clip that.
quite charming.
No,
You know what I mean?
Somebody will clip that. Yeah.
Britain's never done anything wrong, guys. They wouldn't do anything
Nothing
like
regarding tea.
they wouldn't do anything like invade the whole world.
Wow. Well, that's pretty. But
But the people in power getting arrested is what's going to topple the rest,
Yes.
right? Andrew's the
kidding
first
me. If
person.
they don't kill them.
Yeah, Andrew's the first major person of power to be arrested.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like Charles is going to protect him.
Nope.
And
I don't think so.
And so something like that is, an investigation that started by another country that brings more information to light.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I'm leaning on right now. As far as internally within the U.S., things are bad for the Trump administration, right? They are
Yes.
desperate. Things are getting worse. The cover-up is falling apart because these people are incompetent, but they are still in power, and I don't think the NPR article is going to do anything in and of itself but provide more information and a growing pile of information that
I
we
hear
know
you.
that proves
I
that it's a
hear you.
cover-up.
I feel that the Trump administration, they'll be the last to fall. Like you said, we're seeing, foreign leaders fall. There was also Norway's former prime minister who was charged with aggravated corruption, in regards to his connection with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
So we're seeing foreign leaders fall. We're seeing, powerful figures in America fall. Peter Attia, who, he's not that powerful.
What's up with Bill
But he
Gates
was
and
the
this
CBS
shit?
News contributor. Yeah, Bill
He
Gates
was saying
also.
he's basically saying he cheated on his wife with some Russians, and they're saying that's just like a little
He's-
small
he's
confession to hide the big
doing what they're all
lie.
going to try to do and
Yeah.
act like they're partying with women
Yeah.
when they were
Partying with
abusing
girls.
children.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were abusing children. So yeah, I think the Trump administration will be last, but it is a good sign. Don't
And
you think,
also,
that we're starting
it's so
to see?
funny. We're talking about like 50 pages missing as if we don't have 3 million documents we can't
Yeah.
read. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think Alex had brought up in the chat about how what happened to these Congress people are supposed to be able to see the unredacted files and then basically tell us the important parts.
Yeah.
These people are cowards, bro.
Yeah,
There's been quite a few of the Democrats, at least, that have brought important information to light to us. Like, I think it was Representative Lou that brought. No, it wasn't Lou. It was Raskin.
Raskin.
Raskin is the
I feel
one
like that's
that
the only
talked
thing that
about.
Are
actually
they
came
able
out.
to, they're not
No,
able to
we've
read
heard
everything,
double.
right? They can only read some.
They
parts.
only
If
have
not-
2 hours.
The DOJ has only let them in for 2 hours.
And it's 3 million. It's over 3
and
million.
it's basically
documents.
just a
Pages.
list of 3 million documents.
This
And
is-
they're
Yes.
not unredacted.
Yeah.
They're not.
No,
No, what-
they're less redacted.
So there's two levels of redactions,
This
right?
is bullshit.
There
Yeah.
is the document, the original documents themselves, okay, from like the investigations in 2008 and 2019. Those documents were already redacted by the FBI. And so some of
Trump's
the
FBI or
by
prior
prior
administrations?
administrations.
Prior.
So, and then on top of that, there's the redactions that the Trump administration has put on top of those redactions. So what the Congress people can view, and they
This
only
is
have 2
bullshit.
hours to view, is the slightly less redacted documents, but a lot of them are still redacted.
That's
And
unbelievable.
they've also the DOJ has also thrown in a bunch of false flags in there. We've had like viable proof of false flags. So they're also throwing like fake information into the files to confuse
And they're
it.
also actively outing
Yeah.
the survivors who
for
don't
sure.
want to be named. There's plenty of survivors who are in the files
Alex says
who
2
specifically
hours
did not want
and they
to be
only
named.
have 4 computers.
Yeah, 2
that
hours
true?
for computers, 300
Yeah,
Congress
that's right.
members. Yeah.
Okay, so basically they don't have access to anything.
No, they
Here I
thought they were holding out on us.
They have a little more access than we do.
they
It is
ha-
not unredacted.
But they don't have the
Yeah.
time to figure shit
They
out.
don't have the time.
They don't have the time. They can't.
And they probably can't bring their own technology in and
No,
skins
they-
and use
all-
AI.
all
and
the
all this
DOJ is
shit.
letting them do is take like physical notes.
They're
and
like
they're
you-
being spied on while they do it.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? This
Yeah.
is a freaking
So,
joke.
and we don't even know if what the DOJ is giving them is actually what they claim, which
Yeah.
is like the truly unredacted.
Holy
so,
shit.
it's a sham, despite the fact, right? Like everything we found out so far is because the DOJ is incompetent. It's not because they've actually released anything that they should have.
That's right.
It's basically because they're bad at their job and they have not covered their own trail properly.
Yeah, we've seen 3 million documents
Yeah.
heavily redacted. The other 3 million are probably the really bad ones.
Yeah.
Which we may never see. They're refusing to release them at this point. So yeah, we have to keep putting the pressure on them. That's the only way that we're going to get more information.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on this other, which I'm hoping will be my other avenue to the downfall of Trump. So I saw this article about how Epstein hid secret files in his storage units across the United States, and that he hired private investigators to move like computers and documents and photographs into those storage units before police would raid his homes.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if I'd call them private
And that those
investigators,
have
but
never, and that those storage units have never been raided. They've never
Yeah.
been investigated. Do you think that there's any credibility to that? And do you think that is an avenue to getting more information?
I mean, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. There's also been some news that, Epstein had accounts for FedEx that were open until very recently that had some very suspicious mailing transactions and transfers.
Joshua,
Excuse me.
you're a Marine, man. You can say whatever
So-
you want.
That's right.
But for the kids, the chat. for the kids in the chat. No, we don't have any kids in the chat, but it's just auto moderator.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the question is who's doing the investigation
Yeah.
into those into those storage units.
Not the DOJ.
Well,
Well, we've cracked an hour. Is there anything you guys want to talk about before? Because we can't hold our audience all night.
Yeah.
We can't hold the people. I do want to bring up 3 things real quick.
but the Dow is up. Yeah.
3 things
But-
really
but
quick.
the Dow is up.
Did you guys see that video of that woman they think is Ghislaine Maxwell and her brother? You guys saw
No.
that video,
What is
right?
it?
You guys haven't seen it?
No.
Has anyone in the chat seen the video? It's literally all over TikTok. It's literally a woman who looks exactly like Ghislaine, like same teeth, same nose shape,
Yeah.
spotted in the wild with a man who looks like her brother. And like,
Really?
yeah, it's insane how someone said it's AI.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just assume it's AI.
When
I mean, there's also
deep
like
fake.
videos
Yeah.
It does look like AI.
supposedly of like Jeffrey Epstein walking around in Israel.
They
Like
said it totally looks like
it's
her.
hard to
Proven
it's hard to believe.
D says proven AI from a deep fake account.
yeah. Okay.
Did you guys see Obama said aliens do
got.
exist?
Yeah, I did see that.
Did you guys see that?
That's the most desperate attempt.
I just want to say that was crazy.
Nothing else has worked, right? He's either going to wage war against Iran or he's going to say that there's aliens.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying the video of Obama.
Yeah, well,
There's
yeah,
a post interview
and-
of Obama
and-
saying aliens exist.
And Trump hopped on that.
I just want to drop that. If you guys see me drop a separate channel about that,
listen. Obama said what
but we already knew.
he said the same thing.
We already knew.
He said the same thing, I think, which is that statistically it's improbable that aliens don't exist, but it's very improbable they ever come
They
here.
said nothing.
I just want to know: are they
Obama
cute
said
though?
nothing.
He said nothing.
Yeah. What did you say?
So are they cute though? You know what I mean, some otherworldly type.
I mean, do we still have to go to work tomorrow? Because
Yeah.
if so, I don't care.
No, but,
you know.
Okay. Anyway, any big topics you guys want to end on?
Well, there was one.
Do we have any more questions from chat?
There was one more.
questions in the
There was a
chat?
question from chat, which was a topic that I had noted as well. Which it's a brief one here. There was an ICE whistleblower that reported to Congress that ICE is teaching the cadets to violate the Constitution. Now, this guy, keep in mind, was still employed with ICE in February of 2026. He just quit.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, that's a huge red
February.
flag.
We're still in February.
Yes, exactly. He just quit like a few days ago. Right. So I don't know how much I trust this guy, but he is saying what we all already know, right? Which is he's saying that they're training cadets to not follow the Constitution, and they're not giving them.
I mean,
they're looking for
they're
Kyle
not,
Rittenhouses.
they're not training
You know what
them
I mean?
to do anything. They're giving them guns and telling them to go beat brown people.
Yeah.
What shocks me so much
Yes.
is like how untrained in general, like even our police force, like how much of everyone who's in like
the people that are applying to ICE at this point don't need training to go do what ICE is doing. They're joining ICE.
They're the KKK.
They're joining ICE to go attack people of color. Like,
yeah.
Why else would you be joining ICE at this point? So, it's awful, but it's not particularly surprising to me.
It's not surprising, but it could be good intel.
Yeah.
To hear, I mean, maybe that influences some MAGA, right? To hear it from an ICE officer themselves.
And it says respect to all the people walking away from their jobs and long-term careers to make a point.
Yeah, and it's a delicate balance because on one hand you do want people who have ethics and morals to stay in the position, in certain positions at least, and try and make a change. But at some point you do also have to walk away if you feel you can't make a change anymore. So
yeah, well, I mean that's not happening.
Just Cruisin says they're not returning people's IDs. Yeah, this is fairly new reporting. Just Cruisin actually posted this in our group chat on Patreon just a couple hours ago, I believe. And there's a lot of reports from people, from legal immigrants who have been taken by ICE and interrogated or whatever, and then released, that ICE is keeping all of the documents that they used to prove that they were legally in the U.S. in the first place, like passports or all of these things like that. So, of course, the next time ICE pulls them over, they don't have those documents. Or, even if that's not the case, they have to spend a lot of money to get all these documents again, which goes back to the same type of thing we're seeing with voter suppression, which is that, of course, the government supposedly wants everybody to have an ID, but they're not making it easy to get one. So.
Right, of course.
Bonnie's saying, are the Clintons still going to testify in public or not? I haven't heard anything.
I think they will.
I would not expect anything from the Clintons because
was it like scheduled or something, or they
it
just
wasn't.
were literally saying that?
It's scheduled for like 2 days from now. Yeah. It's the 27th and the 28th.
Yeah, it's going to be one of two things, guys. Either they don't have anything on Bill Clinton, in which case we're not going to hear anything, or they do have something and nothing is ever going to come out because it is more important to them to protect themselves than to go after Clinton. So. I wouldn't expect anything to come of a Clinton testimony.
Something funny here. Matt said anything upbeat to leave us with. I just wanted to bring up the funny fact that when we started the Instagram originally, we were actually going to ask Anthony about a wide variety of topics because he has a wide variety of interests. Yes. You know what I mean? He's hyper-focused on a lot of topics over the years. But we basically continue down the political road because it's like
this is what people wanted to hear.
It's also just like right now we're living in like history.
We're living
it's the most relevant, important thing to be discussing. Times. But it's just so funny because we were literally doing videos about like AI, like when it wasn't such a bad topic to talk about technology, about medical technology.
Yeah, Anthony kind of knows a lot about everything.
Yeah, Anthony knows a lot about like medical advancements and technology and stuff.
So
knows about that. But
don't get me started on tornadoes. Yeah, I had
tornadoes.
I had a little.
Don't
tornado
ask him about
section.
bees.
Don't ask him about bees.
Don't ask him about bats either. Bees and you guys think I'm joking? I'm serious. It's just like the alliteration is completely funny, but don't ask him about bees or bats.
Bees or bats.
Or Pathivexile or
I may have been
bread. Do not ask him about a sourdough. Do not ask him about sourdough.
Yeah, tornadoes? Absolutely not.
Yes.
Alex is like, but the Dow is up. Yeah.
Yeah. One other.
So, yeah, I mean, if you want.
Positive.
Oh, okay.
If you guys want to watch the video of Kash Patel making an idiot out of himself in Milan.
I don't know if I'd call that a positive.
Dude, that dude's such an idiot.
Well, he's going down.
If you want something positive, there was some fairly recent medical news in the last month or so, I'd say. The actual thing that happened, I think happened in 2017, but it's being widely reported on now, which is that they were able, due to recent advancements in gene technology, genetic engineering technology, not gene modification, excuse me, they were able to cure a infant of a deadly genetic disease, which I believe, if I remember correctly, involves improper liver or kidney functioning. to where their body basically produces a poison because it can't properly process another molecule. So this is the first case of with this infant, they were able to create a gene therapy for them, inject them with the gene therapy, and it basically repaired the genetic the damage in their DNA.
That's actually incredible.
Yeah, so it goes in and repairs the actual DNA damage so their body can process the protein properly, and baby's doing well afterwards.
Wow, that's actually incredible.
So
what does that mean for people?
There's some huge advances in gene therapy. I believe this technology was based off of CRISPR, which is a basically genetic scissors that lets you go in and cut out certain parts of the DNA and replace it with other things. But there's some huge advances in medical technology that we're not hearing about because one, because of Trump. Well, we won't get into the depressing parts of it. But there's a lot of positive stuff going on too. That's one of them. And yeah, I'll leave it with that. Biodegradable food plastic in Japan.
All right, you guys.
Yeah, Japan needs the biodegradable food plastic. I don't know if any of you guys have been there, but they have a problem with wrapping things in plastic and then wrapping the plastic in plastic and then putting plastic in plastic in plastic. Yeah, which I've heard is because of the humidity in the country. Things go bad very quickly, but it's a problem.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up while we still have our people here. Thank you so much for joining us. An hour and 15 minutes. I hope it was worth it, guys. Thank you to all. I want to say a specific thank you to all our newest people who just joined tonight and who joined last week. We have a bunch of new people in the chat. Thank you for being here and supporting. Your guys' contributions allow all this to be possible, have allowed Anthony to take more time to grow this channel and amplify his voice, and that means the world to us, because he's our brother, as he is yours.
If you are watching this on YouTube one day later, please like and subscribe, and please turn your notifications on, because we are suppressed across pretty much all platforms except for Instagram, and we want you to see our upcoming content.
Yeah.
And join Patreon, because you're never going to be seeing it live like our amazing audience here tonight.
We can see all the comments and interact with you guys here in the live.
You should be jealous. You should be very jealous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Oki, Janine, Becca, D, Matt, Eileen, Ionda. No.
Bonnie.
Iona?
I need closure on your name.
It's a Russian name, I think, but I cannot pronounce it very well.
I need a phonetics, please.
Yeah. All right, and guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. If we didn't get to your question today, I did create a bunch of new group chats in our Patreon, so you can go there and you can post your questions in the group chats there.
Thanks, guys.
All right, looking forward to next week, guys. Take care. Have a good night.
See you then.
Stay safe.